Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here is your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. You have tuned in to America's home for conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, the one and only, the ever so beloved Todd Huff. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to talk a little bit here today about what is popularly referred to as conspiracy theories. This, by the way, is a term that the CIA, the FBI developed to try to discourage people from some of these ideas and so forth after the Kennedy assassination, as I get things squared up here. And I want to talk about this today specifically in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, because there are lots of conspiracy theories out there. And I want to handle this with gentleness. He was only assassinated 3 weeks ago, and there are some terrible and horrific things being said about him, about his family, about his wife, who's now assumed responsibility and control over Turning Point USA. Some people saying that that's evidence that I just want to say up front, I'm not saying I agree with any of these. I think that this says a lot. Well, there's a lot to discuss. The only way to discuss it is to get into it, what I want to get to today. And so that's what we're going to do as the program comes together and unfolds, my friends. But I want to start by first honoring the life, the message, the leadership, the effectiveness of Charlie Kirk, because anytime you talk about what we're about to talk about, and there's these competing theories and strong emotions and all these other things that come along with distrust for our government, the media, the evil that's in the world, people who are genuinely confused, some people who are just looking for an entertaining storyline, which is, to me, perhaps the most atrocious thing. But nonetheless, I want to get into this, but I want to do it the right way here today as best that I can, my friends. You know that one of the biggest challenges we as conservatives have is finding ways to ensure that our values align with the things that we do, with the way that we live our life, including how we invest our money. That's why I love what the team at 4-8 Financial is doing. They specialize in what they call biblically responsible investing. And let that term sink in for a moment, because that's pretty important. We want to be consistent with what our faith demands or requires of us, right? I mean, we're saved by grace through faith. But the Bible also says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And we don't want to be funding those things that go against the commandments of Christ, the teachings of the Bible. And so, 4-8 Financial screens out companies that do not align with your faith, with your values, so that you're not funding those things that go completely against what you believe in. They do the heavy lifting. It's simple on your side. All you have to do is go to 48financial.com/Todd. Again, 48 Financial. That's the number 4, the number 8, financial.com/Todd. There's an assessment tool there. You fill that assessment tool out. It tells you to what degree or if your current investments are in alignment with your beliefs. You get a report back, and then you can decide what, if anything, you're going to do from there. 48 Financial, because your money should work for your values. All right, I want to start here by saying to you that I just want to take a moment, since we're talking about Charlie Kirk. This is a sensitive topic. This is still a fresh situation, a wound that has far from healed, especially for those closest to Charlie Kirk. And I want to be empathetic. About this. Now, I know Charlie Kirk actually, he talked about empathy and sympathy. He said empathy's kind of a made-up New Age sort of term. because we can't feel what other people are feeling. That's correct. I want to be clear that that's not what I mean by that. Sympathy means feeling sorry for the person who's going through something, and you can certainly have sympathy. Empathy is a little bit different in my understanding, in the sense that you just try to put yourself in their shoes. It's not that you can, but you try to understand, knowing that you're never going to fully comprehend it, but just try to relate to what's going on there. And that's what I try to do here when I think about Erica Kirk, when I think about Turning Point USA, when I think about some of the things that are coming out of the Turning Point camp and some of the things that are being said by friends of Charlie Kirk and everything else. This is a terrible, terrible time. People trying to make sense of this, the loss of a young man who was nowhere near his prime as far as how influential he was. Don't misunderstand me, but how much even more influential he could be if he was allowed, if this lunatic assassin didn't fire the shot. So he had a tremendous impact on the youth, but not just on the youth, across a broader conservative movement in this country. And in the three and a half weeks since his assassination, I mean, it's impacted me. I didn't follow, I said on this program before, I don't follow anyone closely. I'm aware of people in the movement. I basically try to stay in my own lane. So this is not in the slightest meant to be disrespectful or a slight to Charlie Kirk. I probably saw more of his stuff as I think about this. It's probably true than anyone else. And I particularly, I would never listen to a podcast or radio show because of just what I do. I want to keep mine as its own thing. I don't want outside influences even to just subtly or almost subconsciously impact the way that we go about things here. But I did watch a lot of the clips from his debates. He was very good at this, very engaging. He's been called a lot of things that he never should have been called. I hear it every day on social media, and it's reprehensible. It's truly, truly disgusting. And the bottom line is that we all can learn from the model of Charlie Kirk, and we all need to stand up courageously in whatever sphere of influence or circle that we have, whatever that looks like, whether that's in the workplace, the home, the community, whether you're someone who's on a school board, a teacher, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in maybe you're a public official. I don't know. But we all have to stand up for truth and to confront the evils. Like Charlie Kirk confronted evil many times. Not every disagreement is good and evil, right? I mean, there's disagreements we can just have about preferences. But a lot of things that Charlie Kirk dealt with on college campuses, I mean, I don't know a lot, but many of the things were, he was staring evil in the eye, some of these things that were said. And for people who do this, who go to college campuses, and who engage anywhere there's a group of people. I'm not just picking on the college kids, but you're going to encounter things that are sometimes purely evil. And he dealt with that. And I think his courage, his approach, his tact, his patience, his willingness to engage, his willingness to sit there as people maligned him and called him all sorts of names is something we could all take a page from that playbook. Here we're conservative, not bitter. We don't scream, we don't yell, we don't malign the other side. We speak the truth as best as we can, understand it and communicate it in love here. And I would say that's what Charlie Kirk did very, very effectively. But since his passing, since his assassination, since he was murdered, it's impacted the way that I think as well. And I've shared this briefly. I don't want to make this about me. I'm just telling you, I think we all should take inventory like this. It's caused me to say, look, there's some things that we want to do differently and more proactively. In fact, I've invited more people onto this program, even people who are, just not necessarily big names, but people who have strong opinions, who say some truly vile and disgusting things. I've invited two members of Congress here. Not members, excuse me, I had a notice pop up on my phone here. But two people running for Congress that have said some atrocious things. I invited them both on the program, both mocking, or one was mocking the death of Charlie Kirk. The other one just said some things that I think crossed the line. And of course, they don't want to come on here. They don't want to come on here. They say they want to come on here until the time comes, and then they don't. The same is true for the big mouth people on social media who have some very strong feelings, and they're all in their fields. They say things. I say, hey, man, why don't you come on this program and discuss it? Crickets. Truly crickets. They don't want I'm telling you, they don't want the debate. They want you to shut up. They don't want to hear about truth. They want to enjoy I would say that the godless lifestyle and the godless beliefs that they have, where it puts them at the center of the universe. They don't like this idea of absolute truth and justice and the idea that there is a God. They don't like the conservative principles and values. They don't want to be confined or restrained in any way whatsoever. They want to do whatever it is that they want to do. And to one degree, as a person who believes in freedom, I say that's fine. But in another sense, if you want to use your freedom to live a life of evil, that does impact people. And you'll forgive me if I have things to say about that. You'll forgive me if I call that out. The founders talked about this, to use your freedom to do things that are immoral and wicked, it's going to have an impact on our society. That's our job, my friends. Our job is to confront this stuff in the marketplace, in the public square, and to engage in this sort of behavior, to teach our children, the next generation, moral values, give them a moral compass that actually points in the right direction so that they can keep these sorts of things from becoming prevalent in society, becoming accepted in society. It's one thing if individuals choose to use their freedom to do things that are, well, wicked, I guess, or just maybe sinful. It's another for society to give its stamp of approval. And that's the direction that we're headed in many, many instances. And so we have to get the message outside of the conservative bubble, so to speak. So when you have a conservative talk show and a podcast, I want to get outside of that. I want to find where these folks are. I want to engage with them. I don't want to be like them. Now, some of them can get, not the left, not the godless radical left, but many on the political left, those Democrats and even liberals, they can have rational discussions with you. And I welcome that. I welcome those on the left to move back towards reality and morality too. But we have to accept the reality that we live in. But nonetheless, it's caused me to reflect. I think it should cause all of us to reflect and think about how we go about things and prioritize the things that we do, how we communicate, and so forth. So I've mentioned that I'm going to be more proactive here in getting truth outside not just the podcast here, but also to be more proactive, and we're looking for ways to do that. Now, I want to transition here. I want to transition from that to say that there are some conspiracy theories concerning his death. There's a lot of them, and I just want to touch on them. And I want to talk about conspiracy theories in general, some of my thoughts on this. Some of these I've had for a long time. So we'll get to that here, my friends, in just a moment. One of the partners of this program is MyPillow. They've been a partner of ours for about, well, I tell you what, has it been a couple years now, Oz? 2.5 years, I think. MyPillow.com is where you can go to find products ranging from their original MyPillow to some of their other products like sheets and towels and MyPillow slippers and all those sorts of things. They got a wide variety of products made here in the USA, made by a patriot, a guy who loves this country, pushing my friends in the same direction that you and I are. Mike Lindell, MyPillow.com. Promo code Todd's going to save you on their products. They've got a big sale there as well that you can check out. MyPillow.com. Promo code Todd will get you the savings on probably every product, but I always say just about every product to make, just because there could be something that's not on sale or have a discount with my named Todd. So mypillow.com, promo code Todd. All right. Now, let's move here a little bit into the conspiracy theories that are out there. And the only I don't listen, it's been 3 weeks. So the initial shock is that's past. We're in this period of, grief, making sense of this, determining, especially those that are closest to Charlie Kirk, what to do next, right? And Erica Kirk, his wife, his now widow, has taken over the reins of Turning Point USA, and some people criticize that. And, I just think you got to be really careful with that. Some people criticized the way that she conducted herself at his memorial and so forth. Man, I don't want to venture anywhere near that. She is a grieving widow. None of us know what we would do in that particular situation. And I think in her case, and I try to, again, this is not about me, but I try to say, okay, if something, let's say that we develop something, he has an organization, it's not just him, having a show or something. He had an organization. And if you believe in what he was saying, as Erica Kirk does, what Charlie Kirk was out there doing, and if you see the impact, and if you come to the conclusion that he was murdered, assassinated for sharing those beliefs, and that those beliefs that he's out there sharing are critical in saving this great nation, I mean, what do you expect her to do? Just to walk away? Some people say, well, that's what a grieving widow would do. But I say, how do you know that? It bothers me when people are overly critical of her. And I think a lot of it is because some people want there to be some sort of conspiracy to this story. I neither want it or don't want it. I want the truth. That's what I want. If you're a seeker of truth, you found the right place, because that's what I want. I want to get the truth. In fact, the mission of this program is to help people hear and receive truth. I've said before, it's not that we've got it all figured out, though I certainly understand why you might think that we do here on this program. But the truth is, when you discover truth or have truth revealed to you, it's important that we share that and pass that on to the next generation. I've said that before, because truth, if not shared, will be filled. That creates a vacuum. If the truth is not embraced and shared and accepted, the truth will be replaced, make no mistake about it, by some form of a lie. By some form of a lie. And they've been incredibly successful. And I commend her for taking the reins of this. I know a lot of people want there to be something else, or think that there's something else to this story. Maybe she just believes in the mission. I don't know. That seems like a logical explanation to me. But I want to go through this. I want to go through a couple of things first. So, I want to recognize that a lot of people who embrace a conspiracy theory, what's called a conspiracy theory, are searching for truth. There's certainly a chunk of those people who just want the truth. And they realize that they've been lied to for a long time by our government, by our media, by the 7 pillars of propaganda. And they know to some extent that they're never going to really know. And so that's troubling. And so they begin to look other places, and they begin to hear these theories that people have come up with. Now, some conspiracy theories in recent history have been accurate. Some have been completely insane. And so it's not as though, look, a conspiracy theory, my friends, is really when two people, when someone comes up with an explanation for something that happened that requires the cooperation or the working together of multiple people. And so I know it's used in a derogatory fashion to kind of say you're a kook and so forth. I think that there certainly are conspiracy theories that are kooky. I think that there are conspiracy theories that may hold plausible explanations for things, and everything in between. Context, as you have heard me say on this program countless times, context is king. Context matters. And so conspiracy theories have exposed truth before in this country. Conspiracy theories have also led people the farthest point away from truth. So it matters on the particular context. I think we should be discerning here. I think we should not be gullible and believe anything that our ears hear or that we see on social media or some such thing, even if it's from somebody that we have developed respect for or someone with a big name. Some of these podcasts now are strictly just conspiracy theory stuff. And I think, well, I'll talk about that, I guess, in a moment. But you don't want to be gullible. You don't want to mock people who are, pursuing an avenue or a possible explanation for something. We just want discernment, and we want truth. So I'm going to do my best here to present I'm not going to say comprehensive, but a list of the theories that exist out there just in 3.5 weeks since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here's just I'm not going to be able to get through all these before the break. I've just got about 2 minutes here, but some believe that Israel and the Mossad, their, I guess, version of the CIA, are involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So some tie this to anti-Israel or anti-Semitic narratives. What's even crazier is that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu himself, directly addressed this theory, calling it a monstrous big lie. So there are people out there that think Israel and the Mossad had a hand in the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk. Some believe that the U.S. government did, or that someone in the deep state did, or that there are rogue elements within our government that did. And there's, again, as many theories as you can probably imagine here. But some of these theories believe that elements within the U.S. government orchestrated the assassination to silence Charlie Kirk or to sow chaos. And then there's the false flag narratives, right? The false flag narratives, which is when it looks like it's one group by design. It looks like, the person that did it is a part of this group, when in reality, they're trying to malign the group. So people are all over the place on this. There's people who believe that the accused, Tyler Robinson, has been framed, that he was a patsy like Lee Harvey Oswald, falsely accused, while the real shooter or shooters are out there, hidden in maybe even plain sight. Some argue that his texts were scripted. Some question the role of his transgender partner. Some people believe that's the shooter. There's lots to go through, my friends. I'm going to pause here because I'm up against a break. Take a quick time out. You're listening here to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. We're talking about conspiracy theories today. I know that there's programs that devote their entire content to sharing conspiracy theories. That's something you won't find us doing unless there's a whole lot of evidence and reasons to believe these things. I'm not here, I want to be clear, I'm not here to say that there's never been a conspiracy theory that's been proven right. That's not my point. In fact, I'm also not here to tell you that the government is to be trusted. The government has lost basically all, what do I want to say? They violated the trust of the American people for too long. The media has violated the trust of the American people too long. I think that they're cleaning it up. I think that I know some people think that Trump's the one that's creating this disharmony, but in reality, this stuff has been happening behind the scenes for decades. The government has been growing in power. The government has been lying to us, deceiving us, misleading us. So it's now, I guess, the chickens have come home to roost, as they say, because this is kind of what the result is, the consequences of lying to people for so long. They never believe what they're being told anymore. And so I understand that. So I'm not here to completely poo-poo the idea, but I'm also here to say that there are conspiracy theories out there that are just downright nuts as well. So I've been going through some of the ones that I've seen that I've been able to find online or hear people talking about. I've gone through 3 conspiracy theories concerning the death of Charlie Kirk, and we're going to continue to do that here, my friends, as the program comes together. I want to remind you before I get into that, though, Freedom Marketplace is something that we've launched here at the Todd Huff Show, freedommarketplace.net. It's a place where you can find conservative businesses, businesses that are freedom-loving, businesses that love this nation as founded. They've made a pledge, a promise not to support leftist candidates, leftist causes. And so we started a directory for them because, candidly, as we grew the program, we used to put all of our sponsors' logos on a website, on our website, and it got too busy. It got to the point to where this honestly was terrible. And so I realized we needed a searchable directory because people would sometimes they email me. And by the way, I welcome you if you say, hey, I heard an advertiser on your show. That's okay. It's something you can email us about or contact us about on the website. We're happy to connect you. But the reality is here that we needed a searchable database to give people an ability to find these folks. And so we did that. And in the process of doing that, or as I was putting that together, I thought, you know what, there's folks who maybe can't be a podcast advertiser, sponsor, partner, but they might want to list their business on Freedom Marketplace. So that's where this idea came from, freedommarketplace.net. Check it out. It's one of the things that you can do practically to help companies that are pushing in the same direction, that care about America like you do, that are wanting to see America return back to her constitutional values and roots. freedommarketplace.net is where you can go. It's free for you to use, by the way, freedommarketplace.net. Okay. So, been talking about some of these theories today involving the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'm just going to summarize. I'm not going to talk about the ones that we've already discussed. I'm just going to mention them and then pick up here. We had Israel and the Mossad were involved. We had the U.S. government or the deep state or some rogue elements of the government that were involved. And then we have this belief that some people have that Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin, was framed. And some people even questioning the role of his transgender partner. And then we have this one, which again, there's so many different theories out there that I just have to kind of group them together. But that Charlie Kirk's wife, now widow, Erica Kirk, or some insider or someone in the family was directly involved. I'm not endorsing any of this. I want to be very clear. I'm only saying this to have this discussion because really what I want to get to next, which is why we're here and how we should think, how I think we should think about these things. So some people believe that Erica Kirk had foreknowledge of this, or that she was involved or motivated by control over Turning Point USA or some legacy assets, all that sort of stuff. In fact, those sorts of theories have gained, I would say, even some additional momentum in the wake of her announcing here that she's taking control of leadership of Turning Point USA. Some people have built this suspicion upon some timing of some public statements made and things, that happened at the memorial service. Again, I think these are tasteless. That's just my opinion. Reaches here, but they're going through this. I mean, folks, there's a lot. There's theories about the security team. In fact, one of the folks that were close, who was close to Charlie Kirk, was, what is his name? Cross-examine. I actually like the guy. He goes to campuses a lot. He's a Christian apologist. His name will come to me. Frank Turk, who I believe was Charlie Kirk's mentor, who was there when he was shot. There were early videos saying, look at this guy making signals, and it was Frank Turk who was actually just adjusting his glasses or some such thing. So there's videos that question his security, theories that question his security team. Some people, of course, have theories about the messages that were on the bullet casings. The shooter allegedly etched phrases like, hey, fascist, catch, and arrows onto the casings. So some people think that that's some sort of a message or a code, that this was something more ritual or rooted in ideology, which it was rooted in ideology. I think that that's pretty clear. We've got AI and video manipulations out there, deep fakes that some of them have been caught and exposed already. My goodness. Some people have questions about the timing, thinking this was pre-timed, prefabricated. You may remember that there was a book that was published about the death of Charlie Kirk on Amazon. The date of the publishing was the day before the assassination. There was questions about that. Amazon came out and said that that was an error on their systems end and so forth. Some people question the foreign interference from Russia, China, Iran, that fueled the disinformation narratives here. Some people believe, as this stuff is always the case with this stuff, that Charlie Kirk's assassination was faked. I don't even like to say some of these things, my friends, but that's some of the stuff that's out there. Some people question the occult, or again, some ritualistic murders, killings here in this, well, a certain type of subculture. So there's questions and theories all over the place. Some people have a hybrid of theories. They combine different pieces of different theories. Let me say this. This is what I want to get to. Truth matters. Truth matters. We must pursue it wherever it leads us. Truth matters. If it leads us to the simple truth that this shooter was Tyler Robinson, that the story we're being told is accurate, that's what we should go with. That's what we should believe. Now, I understand that there are people out there that don't want you to know the truth, and I think that there are people out there that are capable of really incomprehensibly wicked things. Lying, deceit, murder, you name it. They're capable of it. But we should follow the truth wherever it leads us, even if it leads us to what some might consider a conspiracy theory today. I say that without endorsing a single one of those that I just mentioned. Conspiracies have happened before. MK Ultra, Watergate, some would say the Kennedy assassination. Our government and other powers around the world have an amazing capacity for evil. Individuals have a major, unbelievable capacity for evil. The government and rogue people, groups within the government have capacity for evil. Terrorist organization, there's evil out there. That's an obvious thing. Evil exists. Conspiracy has happened. But they're not always as competent as we give these folks credit to be. That's one of the takeaways for me. God is omnipotent. God is omnipotent, meaning he's all-powerful. There's nothing that God's power can't accomplish. In fact, God often restrains his power and his justice and instead chooses to use grace and mercy and patience in dealing with human beings in hopes that they will accept the free gift of salvation through Jesus Christ. But God's the only omnipotent being. Even Satan himself is not omnipotent. Satan's legion of demons are not omnipotent. They're not all-powerful. They're not omnipresent. They can't be everywhere at once. They're limited. And sometimes we give too much power to the side that's trying to complete acts of darkness. And I think we need to be mindful of that. Just because they would like to do certain things doesn't mean they can pull it off. Doesn't mean that they're successful even if they do try. They make mistakes. They're human. In fact, they're human and they are very, very they're very conceited. They think very highly of themselves. To have an anti-God state of mind, one has a very, very high opinion of oneself, and that causes people to make even additional mistakes. It's easy. These theories sometimes give way too much power to what we're fighting against, and I think that needs to be at least thought about and recognized, because we do not fight against an evil that has unlimited power. It is powerful, it is dark, it is deep, but my friends, the omnipotence is on the side of those who believe in God Almighty through his Son, Jesus Christ. And I've got to take a break. Sit tight, my friends. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. You've worked hard, you've made smart choices, and now it's about making sure that effort counts, not just today, but for the future as well. Full Suite Wealth helps forward-thinking people with a coordinated approach to wealth, legacy, and legal planning, including private equity, including private credit, including options strategies. They'll help you see the big picture, plan ahead, and make your success truly matter for the people you care about most. The goal is a plan that stands the test of time. Visit fullsuitewealth.com. That's fullsuitewealth.com. Build your legacy. Secure your future, my friends. Jason and his team over there at Full Suite Wealth will take very good care of you. Last segment here today. On the program, I want to tie this all together here, wrap this discussion about conspiracy theories up. And I want to say this. Number one, trust in government. Trust in government is very low. I haven't looked at the data, but it might be at or near an all-time low. And that distrust is earned, by the way. And part of the scrutiny and the disbelief in our government is absolutely earned. This is a consequence of what's happened over the past, I would say, 50 years in government, with a few exceptions in that timeline. There's also, I think, a fascination in some aspects of our culture with the mystery. I think about the true crime podcasts that are wildly popular. I'm not against people listening to those. Do not misunderstand. What I'm saying is that some people so much love the narrative and the story and the mystery and the thinking, the kind of the entertainment value, which is, to me, I'm going to say it, I think that's sick. Listen, I don't. If you listen to true crime, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you hear a tragedy and immediately you start thinking about all the entertaining possible solutions or explanations for an event, instead of just digging to the truth, I would say that that's a sick thing to do. That's not necessarily helpful. These are real people, and I would say that social media has contributed to a part of this. You know, you see these people celebrating his death, which of course the left acts like it doesn't happen. I can't tell you the number of people on the left who say that they don't even know what I'm talking about when I talk about people cheering the death of Charlie Kirk. These people are all over the place. These people are all over the place, and they're proud of it. They've lived in circles where they've dehumanized the political opposition so much that they can celebrate online and not even think anything's wrong with that. These aren't real people to them. These are avatars. These are just faces on a screen. These are not real people to them. And social media has, listen, I'm not here. Social media has done good. Social media has contributed to bad. Social media in and of itself is not morally good or bad. It's how we use it. It's how we've allowed it to impact our lives. It's technically amoral, but there are people that have used it for bad, and some of that bad is the dehumanization of people. You see people as an account on TikTok and not as a human being with blood running through their veins, with children at home, with a wife that they've built a life with. So there's a part of this that feeds into that as well. Narratives can become more compelling than the grief, than the empathy, than the human, just the humanity of this whole thing. A lot of people just wonder, just from an intellectual exercise, what could have happened. It becomes a form of entertainment. These people, there are people, I should say, who kind of take advantage of this. There's influencers, content creators. They trade only in this speculation. They communicate these ideas, these beliefs. They throw it out there. They move on and chase the next rabbit of the day. That's their brand. That's the antithesis of what we are here. I would rather talk about things that are rooted in truth and reality, focus on the things that we do know, and that we encourage people to pursue those instead of some wild, baseless conspiracy theory. Again, you heard what I said about conspiracy theories at the top. Sometimes they're right, but sometimes they're way, way wrong as well. If everything is a conspiracy theory, my friends, I find myself wondering if anything is. Because, again, the universe isn't manipulated and controlled by these evil forces to the degree that we are powerless and helpless. Their power is not omnipotent. We give them too much credit. Sometimes I've been through this. There are some old conspiracy theories. You go back to JFK, you go back, people question the moon landing, the flat earth, all of that stuff. Some of these things are new. Some things, as soon as an event happens today, there's an immediate call for conspiracy theories. It's just something that kind of a part of the subculture does. The online community, at least a portion of it, does. They see conspiracy theories everywhere, And yet on the other side of the coin, you've got people who always believe the official narrative and accounts are true, and that's not accurate either. We're lied to, we're deceived. They hide from us. The powerful don't want to be held to account. Sometimes the powerful have blood on their hands, whether directly or whether just through their personal lack of, doing their jobs appropriately. If you look to, I know Tucker Carlson's doing a 9/11 investigation, and there were a lot of questionable actions taken regarding that. But friends, we face evil. Satan is not omnipotent. We do not fight an enemy that cannot be resisted or cannot be defeated. My friends, the truth is that sometimes we give these folks too much power. The truth is what sets us free, not paranoia, not tribal outrage, not viral theories. Let's be a people who think clearly, who love deeply, who speak boldly. Charlie Kirk's life should remind us that courage leaves a mark. Let's make sure ours does as well, my friends. I have to go. Have a great day. Thanks for listening, SDG.